She never planned on marrying a millionaire. In fact, if someone had told Amelia just a few years earlier that her life would twist into something this dramatic, she would have laughed and walked away. Because Amelia was simple. A small-town girl from Ohio who believed in comfort over luxury, heart over wealth, honesty over perfection. But destiny has a way of placing us on roads we never intended to walk. And sometimes, those roads hide secrets we never wanted to know. Amelia met Ethan Montgomery on a Friday afternoon in early spring, the kind of day where cold and warmth meet halfway, where wind carries the scent of rain, and where life feels strangely poetic. She was working in a quaint little bookstore in her town, stacking old novels on a wooden shelf that creaked with age. The store was her safe place, quiet, dusty, filled with forgotten stories and characters she grew up loving. The bell above the glass door chimed gently. She didn't even look up at first. Customers walked in all the time, and she was used to hearing the same questions. Do you have something for kids? Where's the mystery section? Is there a restroom here? But the voice she heard didn't sound like a regular customer. It was deep, calm, polished, with a strange softness hidden underneath. Excuse me. I'm looking for something classic. Something comforting. She finally turned. The man standing in front of her didn't belong in this small town. He was wearing a charcoal coat tailored perfectly to his tall frame, dark hair combed neatly, and eyes that held an expression both tired and curious, as if searching for something he hadn't found in a very long time. Ethan Montgomery. Though at that moment, she didn't know his name. Or that he was one of the wealthiest real estate developers in New York. Or that his life was a carefully built castle of lies and secrets. She only knew that he looked out of place, yet strangely lost. Comforting. Amelia repeated, brushing her hair behind her ear. Like a childhood memory? Or something with a happy ending? He gave a small smile. Maybe, something that reminds you you're still human. She didn't know why that sentence struck her. Maybe it was the honesty in his voice, or the way his eyes drifted to the floor as if he was carrying a burden too heavy for a stranger to see. Without thinking much, she walked to the far left shelf and picked up a worn-out copy of Little Women. This book feels like home, she said quietly. Ethan took it gently, brushing his thumb across the faded cover. It looks like someone loved it a lot. Amelia nodded. It belonged to my mother. She used to read it to me every winter. When she passed away, I brought it here. It reminds me of her. His expression softened, a depth in his eyes she wasn't expecting. I'll take it. She laughed lightly. It's not for sale. It's part of the collection. He paused. Then maybe, you could recommend me something that feels like that. He said it in a way that felt less like a book request and more like a plea for connection. She handed him another classic. He thanked her, bought it, and left quietly. But he returned the next day. And the day after that. And the next. Sometimes he bought a book. Sometimes he asked about her favorite stories. Sometimes he just sat near the window, reading silently while she worked. Within a week, he had become a part of her routine, and unknowingly, she had become a part of his healing. He told her little things about himself, nothing revealing, but enough to paint a picture of a man who was lonely despite having everything. He told her he lived in New York. He told her he traveled often. He told her he liked quiet places because they reminded him of who he used to be. And she told him about Ohio, her simple life, her dreams of opening her own cozy reading cafe someday. Their connection was gentle, natural, and unforced. The kind of bond that forms when two people who've lived too much alone finally find someone who sees them. After 2 weeks, he asked her out for coffee. After 2 months, they were inseparable. And after 6 months, he confessed he was falling for her. She laughed nervously, playing with her sleeves. "You barely know me." "I know enough," he replied softly. But she didn't know him. Not really. He told her he had money, but never told her how much. He told her he had a complicated past, but never explained why he avoided talking about family. He told her he had health concerns occasionally, but never explained what kind. Still, Amelia never pushed. She believed everyone had a right to their secrets. Love doesn't happen with perfect information. Sometimes it happens with trust. When he proposed, it wasn't grand or flashy. No fancy restaurant. No diamond-studded drama. Just a quiet evening in the bookstore after closing hours. He got down on one knee between shelves of forgotten novels and dusty classics. "Marry me, Amelia," he whispered. "I don't have a perfect life, but I know I want you in it." She said yes. Their wedding was private, intimate, just close friends, soft music, and candles. She felt like she was stepping into a dream. But dreams sometimes hide shadows. When she moved into his penthouse in Manhattan, it was overwhelming at first. The place was spotless, organized to perfection, almost too polished for real life. There were expensive paintings on the walls, rare sculptures positioned like museum pieces, and a large grand piano no one seemed to play. Yet the place felt cold. Not physically, emotionally. As if someone had removed all signs of a past life. No family pictures. No old memories. No childhood keepsakes. Nothing. "Do you ever invite anyone over?" she asked one night while unpacking. His jaw stiffened. "I don't usually have people." She noticed he changed the subject quickly. The first strange thing happened a few nights later. Amelia woke up around 2:14 a.m., feeling thirsty. She walked to the kitchen quietly and poured herself a glass of water. As she walked back to the bedroom, she heard it. A soft whisper. A faint voice. Coming from the study room down the hall. She froze. The housekeeper had left hours ago. The security guard was downstairs. Ethan was asleep. The whisper sounded like someone saying a name. She stepped closer. "Marcus." The name floated again, barely audible. Amelia's heart pounded. She opened the study door slowly and saw Ethan sitting alone in the dim light, staring at a wooden box on his desk. He looked up sharply, startled. "You scared me," he said, trying to smile. What are you doing here at 2 a.m.?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. He closed the box immediately, almost defensively. "I couldn't sleep," he said simply. The explanation wasn't convincing, but she didn't push. The next day, he acted normal, loving, warm, attentive. But something behind his eyes felt heavier than before. A week later, she discovered something else. Every Thursday evening, Ethan left the house at exactly 7 p.m. He didn't say where he was going. He came back after 2 hours. His clothes always smelled faintly of antiseptic, hospital-like. And he always looked emotionally drained. When she asked him casually, he gave vague answers. Work, meetings, property visits. But they didn't feel like the truth. Still, she held on to trust. One Friday morning, when Ethan left early, Amelia decided to organize the study room, something she'd been wanting to do for weeks. She dusted the shelves, arranged the books, and then her gaze fell on the wooden box Ethan had closed so protectively. Curiosity tugged at her. She hesitated. Her heart raced. She shouldn't open it. She knew she shouldn't. But secrets have a magnetic pull, especially when love is involved. The box had a small metal latch. It wasn't locked. She lifted the lid gently. Inside were letters. About a dozen. Old, yellowish, fragile. Most of them were addressed to Ethan Montgomery, Father's Unit Wing, St. Nicholas Children's Hospital. Father? Children's Hospital? Unit Wing? What did that mean? She picked up a letter. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the paper carefully. The handwriting was shaky, almost childlike. Dear Daddy, will you come today? I'm scared when the lights go off. The nurses say you're busy, but I know you'll come. You promised. Love, Marcus. Amelia froze. Daddy? Marcus? A cold chill ran down her spine. There were more letters. Some cheerful, some scared, some barely readable. All from a child named Marcus. A child Ethan had never mentioned. She felt her throat tighten. Why hadn't he told her? Was he hiding a child? A son? Tears welled in her eyes, not from anger, but from the shock of discovering an entire part of Ethan's life he kept hidden. Just then, the door behind her creaked. Her blood ran cold. Ethan stood there, silent, emotionless, watching her hold the letters. He closed his eyes briefly, pain flooding his expression. I didn't want you to find out like this, he whispered. Her voice shook. Ethan, who is Marcus? Why didn't you tell me? He walked inside slowly, his shoulders heavy like he was carrying years of grief. Marcus, his voice cracked. Marcus was my son. The word hurt her more than anything else. She whispered, tears threatening. He nodded. He passed away 3 years ago. Amelia covered her mouth, a gasp escaping. Now Ethan looked like the man she first saw in the bookstore, tired, lonely, broken. But deeper. Far deeper. I thought, if I never talked about it, maybe the pain would fade, he whispered. But it didn't. It only got worse. He sank into the chair beside the desk. My marriage ended after his death. My ex-wife couldn't deal with the grief. We both blamed ourselves. We stopped being a family. Amelia wiped her tears. Why didn't you tell me? She asked softly. Because I didn't want you to feel like you were stepping into a life filled with ghosts. Amelia approached him slowly. What happened to him? She asked. He hesitated, then finally spoke. Marcus was born with a rare heart condition. We did everything we could. Treatments, surgeries, specialists, but his heart wasn't strong enough. His voice broke. He died in my arms. Amelia felt her body collapse into the chair, overwhelmed with emotion. And every Thursday, she asked gently. I visit his hospital wing, Ethan whispered. His room is still there. I fund the entire pediatric cardiology unit in his memory. Her heart cracked open. All the mystery. All the late-night whispers. All the secrets. It wasn't betrayal. It was heartbreak. I'm sorry, she whispered, tears streaming. Ethan reached for her hand. I was afraid you'd see me as damaged. As a man stuck in the past. She shook her head. No. I see you as a father who loved his son. He broke down for the first time she'd ever seen him cry. She wrapped her arms around him tightly. Years of grief poured out through his tears, and she held him through every wave of sorrow. That night changed everything. Ethan slowly began letting Amelia into the pages of his hidden life. He told her stories of Marcus, his laugh, his quirks, his favorite toys. He showed her the little drawings Marcus made. He told her how his death shattered his ability to trust, to hope, to love again. But Amelia didn't run. She stayed. She helped him heal. Months passed, and love slowly replaced the emptiness in Ethan's eyes. He started smiling more, sleeping better, even playing piano again, something he hadn't touched since losing Marcus. One evening, Amelia suggested something softly. Let's turn this home into a place where Marcus's memory lives, beautifully. Not silently. He looked at her, surprise flickering in his eyes. You mean, not hide it anymore? She nodded. Love doesn't replace love. It expands. Together, they built a small memorial corner in the house, gentle, warm, full of light. A framed drawing Marcus made. His favorite toy airplane. A candle that stayed lit at all times. For the first time in years, Ethan felt peace. But the story didn't end there. A year later, Amelia found herself staring at a positive pregnancy test. Tears filled her eyes, joy and fear blending into one. That evening, she walked into the living room where Ethan was reading. She placed the test gently in front of him. He looked at it, then at her, his eyes widening, glowing, trembling. We're, he whispered. She nodded, tears falling. Ethan broke into the most genuine smile she had ever seen. He held her like she was a miracle he never expected. Months later, when their baby boy was born, Ethan held him softly, whispering, "Your brother would have loved you." Amelia kissed his cheek. "And he's watching over us. Always." Their home, once filled with silence and hidden pain, now echoed with laughter. Ethan learned to live again. Amelia learned to love without fear. And together, they built a future where secrets no longer lived in the shadows. Because the biggest secret Ethan hid wasn't darkness, wasn't betrayal, wasn't another life. It was grief. Raw, human, painful grief. And Amelia didn't just uncover it. She healed it.